Good morning, everyone. This is Tom Martin. Thank you so much for attending today. I really appreciate it. One thing is, if before you start, you can take a look at the polls that I have out there. Just a few questions. Number one, have you ever used a chatbot? Number two, would you like to use a chatbot in your law practice? And then number three, would you like to have access to a recording of today's conversation? If you can take a moment to answer those, I'd really appreciate it. It'll help me to know the audience and be able to get you a copy or recording of this presentation, if you like. All right. Well, the title for today's presentation is How to Make Chatbots Work for Your Law Practice. And as I said, I'm Tom Martin, founder and CEO of LawDroid. LawDroid is a company dedicated to creating useful bots for lawyers and law firms to make you more efficient and profitable. And you could reach me through this contact information. My Twitter account is LawDroid1, and you can follow me there. Probably expectedly, I do talk about bots and AI and stuff like that. And my email address is tom@lawdroid.com, and you could check out the website at lawdroid.com. So I'm a lawyer, not just a bot builder and developer, but a lawyer as well. So I really understand, the issues that lawyers face with clients, with real life clients, not just idealized, questions and answers where you hope to get the best responses from your clients, or potential clients, but actually how people are in real life. And I think we all know as practicing lawyers that sometimes the clients that you hope you would have are not always the clients you get. And so being able to communicate with them in a way that is intelligible for them is important. And so that's one of my main strengths, besides putting together the technology, is the ability to relate to regular clients. I'm a Fast Case 50 honoree. I'm co-founder of Vancouver Legal Hackers. We just had a breakfast coffee today to talk about legal tech issues. I'm also the education chair of Group Legal Services Association and on a technology committee with ARAG. But I can't tell you how excited I am to talk to people about this and spread the word about bots and what bot automation can do for lawyers. So thank you. All right, today's agenda is just to go into first the lawyer's dilemma. Number two, we'll talk a little bit about what is a chatbot. Three, isn't this AI hype overblown? We'll take that head on. And then lastly, how to make a chatbot work for your law practice. So number one, the lawyer's dilemma. First of all, what is that? As you might expect, as a lot of people, not just lawyers, experience, it's the lack of time. As lawyers, especially those that work under the billable hour, time is a very scarce resource. And so when there's only so many hours in the day, we're trying to make the best use of our time. And when especially you have family and kids or other commitments, hobbies, just everything going on, trying to juggle that, it's very difficult to get the most out of the time that we have in our daily practice. So there's a survey done, the American Time Use Survey of 2015, which goes back to 2003, as you can see here, and it shows the portions of time spent on different activities for people in the States. One kind of thing that's ironic here that I like to point out is that if you look at the amount of personal care, which is mostly sleep, it's actually gone up, over time. And I know that probably goes against what we anecdotally hear or feel ourselves, but we've actually, on average, been getting more sleep than we have in the past. In addition to that, what you would expect for employed full-time people, the amount of hours dedicated to working is around that 8 hours. So then what do we do with that 8 hours? So as lawyers, there's this report, amazing report, groundbreaking really, that came out from Clio. Clio, as some of you may know, is a legal case management system that is web-based, cloud-based, and really has been revolutionary to case management. And so what they did with the information that they get through lawyers using their practice management tools is a lot of great data. And so as we know, data has really changed a lot of industries, because we move away from what we expect or what we think how things should be to what is actually happening. And so what they determined is actually happening is when you take the 8-hour workday of most lawyers and you break it down, there's the amount of time that lawyers utilize. So they're actually working on legal matters, drafting a contract, litigating, having a phone call to negotiate. It could be some, legal function. So 2.3 hours of the 8-hour day is spent on that. Realized is that they actually get to bill for that amount, which is 1.9 hours out of 2.3. And then finally, what they actually collect. So what they actually get paid for is 1.6. So when you compare the amount utilized to what is actually collected, it's very scary to a lot of us. But it appears to be that is what the data bears out. So even in best case scenario, we're utilizing 2.3 hours out of the 8-hour day. And so there's this missing 6 hours that was referenced in the report. And so trying to make sense of this missing 6 hours, Clio looked into, okay, what is the time being spent on? What are the missing 6 hours being spent on if it's not legal work? And as you might expect, it's everything from administrative tasks, 48%, licensing and continuing education. So we're doing things to keep abreast of the latest legal developments, but it's not billable. Of course, we can't get paid if we don't keep up with it, but we still have to do it. 33% to business development. And so a third of our time is spent trying to get new business on top of the business and clients we're already working with, which isn't surprising, but it goes to show, as they noted, it suggests earning new clients is a constant concern for most law firms. And I know for myself and lawyers that I know that obviously that is a main concern, getting new people in the door. But actually the numbers get worse than that when you look at it a little more closely, because it shows that 25% of legal professionals are interrupted at least, well, more than 10 times per day, and 30% between 6 to 10 times per day. Now, that interruption, that kind of change up between these different tasks that we're trying to accomplish as lawyers throughout the day, that goes into this missing 6 hours, is just filled with essentially dead air, just gaps. And those gaps, unfortunately, have an even worse result, which is that to get back from one task to the other, the task switching that goes on can take up to 20 minutes or more of downtime, because it takes you mentally that amount of time to really get your head back in the game. And I think we all know that from experience. You go through the day, you're working on a contract, drafting it, plugging away, you're in that mental space, and then you get pulled out of it to have a meeting, and then that meeting goes on for an hour and doesn't seem to accomplish much, and then you have to come back, finish talking with everyone, winding that down, get to your own task, and then to get your head back into that space where you could just be in the zone, it takes time. So there's a lot of lost time here, and time that we can't dedicate to what we need to do. But one thing that doesn't even go into this calculation is, or in this data, is what happens to those things that you don't have time to do at all. Because we talked about our time spent on things where we were utilizing our time for legal tasks, or we're dedicating it to administrative tasks or to getting new clients. But there's a lot of things on our task list that we don't get to, or that we don't even know to get to. For example, there's visitors right now going to your website who go there and they don't get any interaction whatsoever. And that lack of interaction happens, for example, like this. It's a classic example. Somebody goes to a website, they have that nifty live chat option in the lower right-hand corner. They click on it, nobody's home. And nobody's home because you just don't have the time to man it. With everything else that I just talked about, this is a complete lost opportunity. And then being able to staff it where you're outsourcing it or you're having some of your own staff dedicated to live chat seems like potentially losing money when you have so much on your plate to get through. And so every day is like going through the jungle, with a machete trying to get through the rainforest, that trying to spend more time on potential seems like probably not the highest priority. But as we saw, when getting new clients is such a high priority, and it's the only way to ensure that constant flow of new business that is the lifeblood of any law practice, we need to do it. We need to find some way to do it. And unless we can clone ourselves, which isn't possible yet, but maybe in the near future, we have to find a way to do it. So this is where we come to chatbots. What is a chatbot? So a simple definition is that a bot, and I prefer to use bot than chatbot because I think that chatbot kind of minimizes it into just being about something superficial and chatty. But a bot is a computer program that automates a conversation and or a task. And I think that's really what makes it intriguing, because if you could do both of those things, the conversation and do a task as well, and a task could be like creating a report, it could be going through a qualification process to get a lead to a prospect where they're a good lead and you probably want to set some appointment with them. Like, there's a lot of ways that you can take that technology and you can make it work for you. So now we're looking at those missing 6 hours, and we're looking at even those opportunities that we completely lose. And we're seeing the hint now of the way to handle that. So for example, some chatbots you may have already heard of that are making a big splash out there. The first one is Do Not Pay. Okay, and Do Not Pay, if you're not familiar with it, it's a consumer-facing chatbot. So it helps regular people with regular legal problems they might have. Most famously, it started out with attacking parking tickets that people got. Now, Joshua Browder, who is a 20-year-old and student at Stanford, is the one who hacked this together. And even though 65% is probably not a stellar grade at Stanford, it happens to be the percentage of appeals that his bot won in terms of getting rid of parking tickets for regular people. So in my book, to have a piece of code doing that is a huge win. And for over, I think initially, as of a year and a half ago, it was like over 160,000 people. I believe it's now helped over 250,000 people with parking ticket appeals. Just imagine the scale of that. One practitioner could not do that likely in their whole career. And here we have a bot that's able to handle that. So as you see here, you search for the issue that you have a problem with, you answer a few questions with the bot, and then it can create a document for you. This is what it looks like for its latest incarnation. Joshua created a way that you can fill out small claims court information, documents, to start a lawsuit against Equifax. And this is what the dialogue looks like, where it's a pretty simple thing. It's nothing mind-blowing, but what is mind-blowing is that it does a lot of the functions that we might do, or we might have a paralegal do for us, and we can ensure best practices based on our experience as lawyers, and then automate it and have it running potentially 24/7, doing the work for us. And this has some great benefits for the consumer as well that I'll get into a little later. Another bot that's also consumer facing that's making a splash is VisaBot. Now, VisaBot does not get as much PR or marketing time as Do Not Pay and Joshua Browder, but I think VisaBot is really amazing. They have a really good product, and it helps a lot of immigrants to the United States help themselves in terms of finding out if they're qualified to get a visa and immigrate to the United States. This is what it looks like. It's actually, this version of it is living on Facebook Messenger. And by the way, if any of you have questions throughout this, there's a chat function on this presentation, and you could just post your questions in the chat dialog box, and then I will answer them later. There will also be time for questions later. So this dialog that's in Facebook Messenger allows them to communicate with users, gather information about the type of visa that they're looking to extend or to get, answer some questions, and even provide documents that they can upload and send them in the right direction. One other thing that's pretty impressive about VisaBot is that once the user answers questions, it allows, it provides a scoring, and the scoring gives the immigrant some idea of how likely they are to get the visa that they're interested in this case, an O1 visa. And one thing that I have to say is that from a customer standpoint, from a consumer standpoint, this is totally amazing, because that's really what they want to get from lawyers when they call up for that consultation is, you know, what are my chances of getting X? And this really satisfies that. So another thing about bots and another thing about technology in general is you really have to think of it in terms of turning it around, basically taking that focus from the lawyer and turning it around so it's focused on the client, like looking through their eyes. What do they care about? And this is one of them. So I suspect that some of you, probably all of you, because we're lawyers, we have concerns about this. You know, one of them is, do people really want to talk to these things, to these chatbots, to these bots? Do they want to talk to, you know, this faceless, disembodied assistant? Or, you know, don't people still value the personal touch of a handshake and that face-to-face meeting? And of course they do. Of course, a lot of people still do. I think the statistics of it is probably somewhat broken generationally, as we've seen, that it tends to break generationally, that there might be more of a requirement of personal face-to-face contact. But it's actually changed a lot too, even for older generations, to be texting, to be virtually connected with everyone. Facebook is an example where it trends older. But here's what consumers had to say in response to these concerns. And this information was taken from a Ubisend report about chatbots. They asked consumers, what's the most important thing when communicating with a company? What do you want? So again, from the consumer standpoint, from their point of view, and reaching the desired outcome 68% of the time, huge majority of people, like, this is what they want. You know, is it about how we communicate? Is it about who I'm talking to? No, it's about reaching that desired outcome, sorry. And then the other factors that followed up about what they were most looking for was ease of experience, 48%, speed at 44%, and convenient time at 39%. So across the board, consumers are looking for something that works for them on their time, is intelligible to them, and gives them an instantaneous answer. So this is the number one reason why people will consider using and asking a chatbot before a person. And it should be no surprise. All of us have had that experience where we're trying to deal with, conglomerate company, and we just need the answer that we need. We need to know something, and they hold the answer, and getting it could be so frustrating. Our clients feel the same way. And the instantaneous answer does not have to be something that sends them elsewhere in terms of their legal need. It could be that we're answering the question about when we're available to talk to them, and scheduling that. Or it could be, this is the answer to your frequently asked question, but it still requires a lawyer's assistance to get the job done. So having that instantaneous response and availability, extremely important to consumers. Isn't this overblown? Isn't the AI hype overblown? I completely agree. AI completely overblown, especially when you see things like this. I mean, even Stephen Hawking, I have great respect for him. But the kind of fear that's generated is about artificial intelligence, and that, it can overtake the world. We have to put this in perspective. But when you see charts like this as well, when you look at the progress of artificial intelligence, you see that Watson on Jeopardy in 2011 beat the top 2 Jeopardy performers. That's what was wildly surprising that happened at the time. Then the AlphaGo bot beat the most adept Go player in 2016. And then earlier with Kasparov in 97 and Checkers in 95. And then just recently in 2017, you have an artificial intelligence that's able to diagnose skin cancer at a higher percentage of success than the average doctor who would do that. And then we have AI succeeding in beating humans in poker, Pac-Man. And another thing that's interesting from this line of progression is if you look at, closer in time to us now in 2017, just on the cusp of turning to 2018 in a few days, there's more developments more quickly over time, right? They start to bunch up as you get to the present day. And I imagine this trend is going to continue. It's going to get so that we have more and more quicker developments. But does that mean that it's the end of all time? I don't think so. But also feeding into the hype is, startups developing AI systems. If you look at this chart over time, you have the hockey puck where a lot of startups have been dedicating their time to AI. The amount of investment in AI has really skyrocketed, especially with blockchain and Bitcoin going crazy right now. There's a lot of investment in artificial intelligence concepts for blockchain startups. And then the hype is mirrored by these ridiculous images that I know you've seen online that shows things like this with a robot human matrix thing going on. Or you see this. And this is kind of what captures the imagination. But I really love this guy on Twitter who captures it exactly the right way, I think. People get caught up in this imagery and the narrative of AI and robots taking over. But what we're really talking about, as he puts it, is washing machines. We're really talking about something that's practical, that's useful at this point in time, is what we're worried about. And as was stated here in the AI Index report of 2017, we're a long way from artificial general intelligence. And it's that artificial general intelligence, which is the human-like thinking, problem solving on its own, self-aware possibility that is out there. You know, we're nowhere near that. We're at a point where we have useful tools that can help us. And as some of you might know, I'm a former philosophy student. So wheeling out Voltaire, his statement, I bring it up all the time, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. That's something I see a lot when it comes to AI and it being discussed recently, is that when it's talked about what it can do for people, there are so many responses that could be boiled down to, hey, it's not perfect. But hold on a second, it's not perfect. And they point out different flaws. And I would submit to you guys that the case against there wasn't a case like that, or perhaps there was a case made against cars or against planes that they weren't perfect, but I don't think we threw the baby out with the bathwater on those. I think that they're good enough concepts to pursue that we continue to refine them and make them better, and that's exactly what we should do with AI and are doing. Okay, so how do we make a chatbot work for the law practice? I've been talking, generally about chatbots and what they can do and about the missing 6 hours, but how do we harness it for our law practice? The first idea is maybe we could use it to qualify potential new clients. We have, as I said, a lot of lawyers spending a good deal of money to advertise and get visitors to the website, presumably to fill out a contact form or to see the phone number on the website, pick up the phone, call that lawyer, and the lawyer gets to talk to him and retain some business, right? That's the goal. But as I mentioned before, there's a missing 6 hours. There's so many other things that we're doing. And unless we can clone ourselves, we can't get it done. But the good thing, or one application of a chatbot, is that in essence, we can clone ourselves. We can clone our ability to qualify potential new clients, get that bot up and running, and it could be a little clone of ourselves doing that. Another way is triaging legal issues. Many of you might have a number of phone calls that you're dealing with from clients where they're throwing so much at you that you waste a lot of time, and it could be a good part of that 6 hours that you're trying to figure out what the issues are that you need to focus on. And I don't want to discount the face-to-face. That's extremely important. Having that face-to-face meeting, building trust, if that's how your practice runs, that's all fantastic. These are not ways of replacing that entirely. These are ways of streamlining and making you more efficient. So for example, with this, triaging legal issues, you might have a chatbot that gathers that information up front. And then when you do have that interaction with the client where you're meeting them, introducing yourself, or just following up with them on the status of their case, how much more prepared are you? How much more information do you have to help you as you proceed? And so that's a huge benefit, is to be in the driver's seat in terms of having the information with gathering this information through a chatbot. Onboarding new clients is another one. So when you get a new client, certainly there's a number of things that you run through. And the things that you run through with a new client are somewhat, there's somewhat of a checklist with that. There are certain best practices that you put together over time based on what you have experienced. And the beauty of chatbots is you could boil down that experience into a reproducible quality thing. Oh, and one other thing I should mention is when you use a chatbot to do some of these functions, you have a record of it. So for malpractice concerns, a lot of times we have conversations with clients where we explain things that need to be done or things that they should be doing. And as you might expect, sometimes clients don't do those things. unless we've reduced it to letters where we expressly stated all of the things they should be doing, and a lot of us do that, and that's a great practice. Well, one other way of making it express so that you have that record of having advised them and have some kind of confirmation that they've received that information, a chatbot is a great way of doing that, because you have a record of the interaction of the chat, of the back and forth questions and answers. And so if you ever needed to verify and confirm that they received the information, this would be a great way to do it. Scheduling appointments, it's a basic task, but it is something that bots can do at this point. If you got somebody on your website who's interested and wants to have a consultation with you, the bot can gather that initial information, set up an appointment, and there you go. Same deal with client interviews. You could schedule client interviews and also ask them questions that come up from time to time that are pretty routine. And finally, other ways that you can invent. There's a myriad of potential applications for bot automation, and it's not always on the front end. The front end being where they're not a client yet and you're trying to see if they're a good potential client. There's ways of using it on the back end as well. Ways that you may currently employ by using a legal assistant or a paralegal. By using a bot, you can automate some of those tasks, gather information, create documents. There are innumerable ways that are open to you to invent. And so one other thing that bots do, and like I said in this particular instance, a bot, for example, that would live on your website and act as, let's say, a receptionist to capture that interest in you, is to get them in the funnel. Get them into this funnel that we've all heard about. We may not employ it religiously, but we should be creating a funnel where we have leads that turn into prospects and finally customers or clients. But on the left side, you see the lost leads. There's a lot of leads that we lose because we're not capturing their interest. And so the chatbot is a way of instantaneously, as I said before, instantaneous answers, extremely important to consumers. It's a way of jumping up, capturing their attention, and getting them in the funnel. So these are people that we would normally lose. And even the ones that we do get, we can handle them in a much more systematic way. And it's just a function of that there's a lot of money left on the table by not employing automated bots. When you don't have this out there working for you 24/7, there's the money that you do make, but there's also the potential money that you leave on the table because you're not employing technology like this to help you. So right now, I'd just like to show you a video of one of my clients' sites that does employ this technology, so you can take a look at what it looks like in practice. So this is the website of Megan Zavea. She's a fantastic lawyer who does ethics defense, and she, interestingly, she is a California lawyer, but she practices out of Atlanta. And so the first thing that the bot runs through is trying to disqualify them by saying, I am a bot and I'm not a lawyer, and making them aware of that when they proceed. Here, the bot is explaining, different services that are available in this conversational type of interface, where they can look through it and see different services that they might want to look into, and then they can self-select what services they're interested in and proceed from there. But this ability to just have and capture the attention of the visitor to the site is a big strength. And then if they want to find out about anything else, they can click on, maybe they want to learn more about you. In this case, Megan, they want to find out more about what kind of lawyer she is, and she actually has participated in Spartan marathons. She is a mother of 4 and she specializes in fighting for you. So to tell a little bit about your story and get that out there. And then if the user has frequently asked questions they want answered, they can go through and find out what the answers to those questions are. And if they want to book a consultation, they can do that through this bot. And we try to make it as easy as possible so that if you click on booking a consultation, if you use software like Calendly or Acuity Scheduling, we pipe the information directly into your scheduler. So we have integration with your calendaring system to make it as easy as possible. And as you can see here, the user can type in book consultation, and then it'll start the dialogue to get them right into that workflow. All right, so let's jump back to the main presentation. So as I mentioned, we do integrate with a number of services. One of them is, as you saw, Calendly or Acuity Scheduling. We also integrate with MailChimp, Constant Contact, and most email providers that you might use for keeping in touch with your client base or your new potential clients. We also integrate with Cleon. And at this point, I want to open it up for any questions that you have. I really want to hear what you have to say. And so what I'm going to do right before I open up all the mics for everyone is I do have a question from Nick. Let me see what he said. How would one start testing out a chatbot on their own? Anywhere I can test it, a bot. And certainly, Nick, there are ways of testing out bots, and I highly encourage all of you to do it. That way you can see what's possible. And the first one is there's a free bot builder called ChatFuel. You know, ChatFuel is made specifically for Facebook Messenger. So that's all it does is create bots for Facebook Messenger. Another one is called FlowXO, and FlowXO also has like a way to get started. I think they have a free trial, and you can play around with that. Now, many of you, like I pointed out in the missing 6 hours, you probably don't have the time to do it. For those that do, I highly recommend that you check out, FlowXO or ChatFuel. But for those of you that don't have the time to dedicate to doing it, or both of those systems, although they are fantastic and they're a great way to get your feet wet, I think that they don't have as much functionality as a lot of people want once they get into it. People get excited when you start getting into bots and thinking of all the possibilities. And so a lot of times, there's limitations within ChatFuel and FlowXO naturally because you can't create documents or anything like that, for example. And so if you ever need anybody to assist you, feel free to look me up as a resource. But what I'm going to do is enable all the mics. Okay, so everyone's mic is potentially on right now. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. So just give your mic permission through your browser, and feel free to ask me anything you have on your mind. Anybody have any questions? Okay, so Vincent posted a question on chat. What is your charging structure? And Vincent, that's something I'd be happy to speak with you about offline. But what I will say is that we have a very affordable, monthly subscription service that we provide. And actually, by making it into a monthly subscription service, it's much more affordable, and many more lawyers and law firms could take advantage of it. So I would be happy to have that conversation with you afterwards, maybe we can schedule a call for you and I. Does anybody else have any questions? I want to respect your time and give your time back to you. But before doing that, oh, Tom is saying not sure how to get his mic working. Well, Tom, if you do have a question, you can definitely type it into the chat box on this presentation. I'll see it and then I can answer it. If anybody else has questions, please feel free to turn on your mic and ask me. Don't be shy. Okay, so Tom said, I suppose there are different types of bots that I can develop. And yeah, that is definitely true. The first one that I showed you a demo of, I call it reception bot, because basically it performs the functions of a receptionist in greeting the visitor, making them aware of the services that are available, answering frequently asked questions. You know, what are your hours? What are the things that you do? How do you deal with certain basic, simple legal questions? And then pushes them to a consultation. You know, just like when somebody calls in, one of their requests might be to schedule a consultation. So that reception bot can do that. Over and above that, there is another function that can be added to that bot where it can generate reports. So somebody comes to your site and we can ask them a few questions about their legal situation, and it can create a customized report that shows that person what their legal rights are. And the beautiful thing about that is that report can actually be customized to that specific potential client. So it's a really responsive, valuable thing for them. So even if they don't immediately sign up to consult with you, and if they're, you know, kicking the tires elsewhere, they're going to have a downloaded report, essentially a customized ebook from you, where it answers a lot of their questions and really helps them take the first steps. And if you're the one doing that, you're going to have a distinct advantage over other lawyers and law firms that aren't doing that. And if you flip it around, imagine this, you're going to be getting the input from that. So not only is it creating a report for them, but since it's asking the qualification questions that you have on your side, you're going to get a report submitted to you that shows you their contact information, shows you all of the answers that they had to those qualifying questions, and you can gauge for yourself, does this make a good potential client? And if it does, you have that wealth of information available to you where you can call them up immediately and try to close it. So it's really a win-win. And then beyond that, we've been experimenting with functionality called Larissa, where it actually has a voice interface akin to you know, Alexa or Google Home, where a user can actually speak with our bot and gather the information that way. So let's see, Tom is saying, I need help with my chat. On one level, I just need simple response that directs folks to fill out our form. On a higher level, I could see it help us sort cases, but that would require gathering more information. And that's completely true. There are lots of different ways to gather information, but I think the distinct advantage of bots is that either you have a current script that you use for your assistants or paralegals, and we can leverage that script for the bot, or it's a great opportunity to reduce best practices to writing. And once you do that, then you're just kicking it out of the park, or excuse me, hitting it out of the park every single time, because the bot is doing exactly the best thing, asking the right questions, and isn't going to have the same kind of human error that you might have otherwise. One other question that Tom has is, you know, how long would it take to develop a bot? If it's the reception bot, which is something, you know, much more straightforward, Our turnaround time is usually within 2 weeks, and that factors in your time to provide us with the information. So we can get up fairly quickly and get it working on your site. And of course, for the more sophisticated bots, it might take additional time. Anybody else have a question? Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to close off the mics just for now. And just close it up. I really love giving these presentations. I really do, because telling people about bots and what they can do is just something that really excites me, honestly. And I just like to get the word out there. So if you want to follow up with me, you're welcome to. You could follow me on LawDroid1 on Twitter. You have my email address, or check out my website, LawDroid.com. You could see some of the projects, some of the applications that I've described. There's videos on my site that show how they work. And you have my phone number here. If you want to call me directly, that's fine too. Any way that you feel more comfortable with is great. So thank you so much for coming to attend my webinar today. We're going to have one every week from now on, but probably take a break for Christmas and New Year's. And I hope all of you have a wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Have a fantastic time, and I look forward to following up with you guys and talking to you in the new year. All right? Thank you. Bye.